Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 8.3, 8.4 review. Today we're going to be reviewing solving by factoring and solving using inverse operations or SADMAP. So when we are solving by factoring on the left-hand side, we use if we have a positive ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And remember, if that leading coefficient is not, if it's negative, we have to factor that out so it can be factored, okay? Now, on the other side, when we're solving using inverse operations or SADMAP, what term is missing, okay? We have no linear term. That's very important. You can't do it if there's a linear term, okay? Or the other time that we can use it is if it's in vertex form, okay? Now, if any of those two things just sounded like complete Chinese, I'm sorry, but you need to go back and watch the 8.3 notes or the 8.4 notes. Either one of those will help you out, okay? So for 1 and 2, it says use the following equations by factoring. So that's the only thing we can do. If it's not possible, we have to defend our answer. All right, let's look at the first one. So if we're doing vertex form, I'm going to look at our quadratic terms because I want everything on the same side. And I want the quadratic term to be positive. So if it's positive, I need to move everything to the right, okay? Because of that 3x squared, it's bigger. So we move the smaller quadratic term, and I'm just going to move everything from the left-hand side over to the right. 3x squared minus 2x squared is just x squared. 6x plus x gives us 7x, and then we're left with 5. Okay, so what would we do? We would factor it. So a times c, which is 5, so we need numbers that multiply to get to 5 and add to get to 7. What are they? Come on, you don't know what they are? That's because there aren't any. So this one, our answer is this can't be factored. Okay. We have to defend that, guys, okay? It can't be factored because of two different reasons. One, there's no GCF. Okay, there's nothing that we can do about that. And number two, what did we just do to the side over there? Okay, we said that the factors of 5, well, the factors of 5, they don't add up to 7. Okay, and that's what we've been working on. Let's look at number 2. Which way are we going to move everything? This time we're going to move everything to the left, okay, because the 5y squared is bigger. So I'm going to subtract the 3y squared, subtract the 3y squared, subtract the 2y, subtract the 2y. 5y squared minus 3y squared is 2y squared. And negative 8y minus 2y is negative 10y, and that equals 0. Don't forget the equals part because that means we're solving. Okay? Now right here, guys, this is a review. You need to be able to solve this on your own. So go ahead and pause the video and good luck. Okay, so the first thing I did was I factored out the GCF of the 2y. My GCF comes out front and we're left with 2i parentheses y minus 5 equals 0. I set each one of those equal to 0 to get our two answers of y equals 0 and y equals 5. Okay, now the next part says that we need to solve the following by inverse operation. So that's the only thing that we can do. And if it's not possible, once again, we have to defend our answers. All right, number 3. Let's get everything to one side. I'm going to subtract the 3w squared because that 12w is much bigger. Everything on my right cancels, and we're left with 9w squared minus 81. Now, this can be solved by factoring. It can be, but we talked about how if we can solve by SADMAP, it is much faster. Okay, so we're going to use SADMAP, and we are not going to factor this. So, inverse operations, the first thing we do is get rid of addition or subtraction. We have subtraction, so I'm adding the 9w squared to the other, or the 81, I'm sorry. And now that the 81's all by itself, I need to start solving for w, so I'm going to divide both sides by 9. And we get w squared equals 9. And now to get rid of the square, I take the square root. And your calculator only gives you one of the answers, okay? Remember, it can be a positive or a negative. And we get plus or minus 3. Okay, let's look at 4. Looking at our quadratic term, I need to move the smaller one, which is the m squared. So we're going to subtract m squared to both sides and add the 7m. And we get 0 equals m squared plus 8m. So can I solve this by inverses? Why? That's a good reason why right there, okay? So this can't be solved. So it can't be solved by the inverse operations. And remember, we have to defend it. And it is because there is a linear term. If there's a linear term, we can't solve it by inverses. Now, can we solve this a different way? Yeah, we could solve it by factoring, but that's not what it's asking us to do. Okay, so we are done. All right, number 2, why don't you guys pause the video, read that problem yourself, and then highlight or circle any key information that you see. Okay, so the gist of the problem that Michelle got pranked. Okay, so she's trying to get her friend back by dropping a balloon from 36 feet above. Okay, so she's probably hiding in her apartment building and she's gonna drop a balloon right on top of her friend. Okay, this is a problem all about physics. Okay, we're talking about gravity and the speed that objects fall. Okay, so that's all the information. The key things are that we're talking about the time and we're talking about the height. Those are the 2 variables that we have. But to really get this, we need to draw a picture. And I already drew my apartment building. So in my apartment building, we are going to have Michelle. She's going to be pink. There she is. And she has, let's give her purple hair. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy because she's dropping a balloon on somebody. So she's got a green balloon and she's going to drop it on her friend down here. Michelle, or whatever her friend's name is. And she's got a ponytail. Okay? So when she drops it, now she's dropping it. Okay? She's not launching the balloon. She's just trying to drop it straight on her. And she missed, and then when it hit the ground, it splatters. Okay? So the gravity, the speed that something falls, is the negative 16t squared. Okay? The h of t part, this is just saying that it's function notation. Okay? And what was the height that she started at? Well, the height was 36, and that's where the 36 comes from in the equation. Okay? So let's look at number one, or A. It says, how long did it take the water balloon to hit the ground? So the two things that we're talking about right here is we're talking about the height. I want to know what is the height and what is the time. Okay? So this is how long, well, how long, they're asking about time. So we don't know what the time is, but it says that we know the height, but it doesn't say anything about the height. Well, when does it hit the ground? Well, it hits the ground when the height is 0. Okay? So for this one, our height is 0. So here's our formula. The h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 36. So our height, which is this part right here, that's 0. So 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 36. Now, how are we going to solve it? Well, we can solve it one of two ways. We can solve it by factoring, or we can solve it by inverses. Which one do you want to do first? Well, remember that solving by inverses is faster. Okay, well let's do that. So to solve by inverses, our quadratic term has to be positive. It's negative right now. So to make it positive, I'm going to add it to the other side. And now I have a positive 16t squared equaling 36. Well, how would I solve this? Well, first I would divide both sides by 16. And yeah, I know, this one doesn't come out pretty. So we have, let's see, 36 divided by 16, and we get 2.25. And how do we get the t by itself? Because it's squared. To get rid of the square, we do the square root. So we get t equals plus or minus, I have to take the square root of 2.25, which is 1.5. Oh, hold on a second. My wonderful pen has stopped working. No fear, guys, it's back. So our time is positive or negative 1.5 seconds. Question though. Do you guys have, can you guys go back in time? Do you have a DeLorean like Back to the Future? No. So can we have negative time? We can't. Okay. So from this point right here to when it dropped and hit the ground took 1.5 seconds. Okay. Whoop. Sorry. I had to put a box around my final answer. Now, I did tell you that there was two ways that we could do that problem. So here's our other way. We have 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 36. Okay, we could have factored this. We could have factored out a negative 6. Or not a negative 6, I'm sorry. Because 6 doesn't go into 14. Or 6 doesn't go into 16. Oh my gosh, come on, Mr. Grice, wake up. Okay, I can factor out my -4, and the -4 comes out front, and we're left with 4t squared minus 9. Okay, well guys, that's the difference of two squares. So we have 0 equals -4, and we get 2t plus 3 and 2t minus 3. And if we were to solve each one of those, we would get t equals -3/2 or -1.5. And over here, we would get t equals a +3/2 or 1.5. And just like we said, we can't have negative time, so our answer is the +1.5. Okay? And that's the other way to do the problem. All right, in B, we want to know what is the height after 0.5 seconds. Okay? So for this next one, we know that the time is 0.5. But what's our height? Okay, so once again, we're using h of t equals -16t squared plus 36. And the way we would write this is we are plugging in our 0.5. Now, this part we do not plug into the calculator. Inside the parentheses is what we're plugging in for our variables, so 4t. In your calculator, you would just put that part, okay? We have -16 times 0.5 squared plus 36. Okay, and when you plug that into your calculator, you get that it's 32. So in this problem, when we plug in 0.5, our height is 32 feet. So after the 0.5 seconds, we're at 32 feet. So it's still got a long ways to go. Okay, let's go ahead and flip it over. Once again, I want you guys to read this to yourself and kind of highlight any key information. Pause the video. Okay, so there we go. Now, this time an object is launched at a velocity of 64 feet per second. So, and it's 80 feet up in the air. Now, if something is being launched, that means it's being thrown, and then it's going to come down and hit the ground at some point. Okay? So, our equation for this one is the -16t squared. Remember, we said that's the gravity. Okay? And the trajectory was the 64 feet per second. Well, that's where the 64t comes from. And our starting height was 80. So that's where all that information comes from our equation. So how long did it take for the object to hit the ground? So once again, we worry about what is our height and what is the time. So they want to know how long did it take. They're asking about the time, and when it hit the ground, well, it hit the ground at 0. So our equation would be 0 equals -16t squared plus 64t plus 80. So how are you going to solve that? Well, you're going to solve it by factoring because there's a linear term. Okay, so this one is all on you guys. Go ahead and pause the video and good luck. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I factored out the GCF of negative 16. And then I did the multiples of a times c, multiplied to negative, and that add up to negative 4. And I was able to use our shortcut there. So we get t plus 1 and t minus 5. And then we get the t equals negative 1 or 5. And can we have negative seconds? No, we can't. So our t equals 5 seconds. Okay, for B, what was the height? They're asking what's the height after 3 seconds? Well, for this one, we're going to plug in 3 into our equation. So the negative 16 t squared plus 64 t plus 80. So we are plugging in 3. Remember, that part right there, we don't plug into the calculator. Okay? So we have negative 16 times 3 squared plus 64 times 3 plus 80. Remember, we have to be very careful when we're plugging that in. And what did you guys get? Well, I got 128. Did I do that right? I don't know. Let's double check. So negative 16, I always like to double check because I want to make sure I got it right. Okay, we're timesing that by 3. Oops, put it inside the parentheses, Mr. Grice. So negative 16 times 3 squared plus 64 times 3 plus 80. And yeah, always got to double check our work. Very important. Okay, so after 3 seconds, our h, the h of 3, equals 128 feet. Okay. C, how long did it take the object to reach a height of 50 feet? Okay, so remember, we always worry about what is our height and what is our time. Okay, and it's saying how long did it reach a height of 80 feet? So we know what the height is. The height is 80, and our time is, well, we don't know. So that's what we're solving for. So in our equation, we know that the height is 80, and we have negative 16t squared plus 64t plus 80. Well, how would we solve this? Well, first we want to get it set equal to 0. So I subtract the 80 to both sides, and we get 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 64t and plus 0. So you guys tell me how to solve this. Okay, you guys are all on your own. Pause the video and good luck. Did you guys get 2 answers? I sure did. I got t equals 0 and t equals 4 seconds. Okay. Why is it at, why? Why 2? Well, remember, our starting height was at 50, so there's going to be 2 different points where it's at 80 feet. Okay. So t equals 0 and 4 seconds. Okay. And look at the next one. The next one is saying, how long did it take for the object to reach a height of 144 feet? So I want you guys to see if you can do this one all on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and good luck. Okay, and when you're all done with that, you should get t equals 2 seconds. Now, if you need any help solving that problem or any other ones that we did today, please come see Ms. Carranza and myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, that's the end for Algebra Unit 8.3, 8.4 review. Thanks for watching.